Bliss, how do I become a stylist? Great question. These are fashion questions. You ask them on Instagram, I answer them here. There are celebrity stylists, there are personal stylists, and then there are editorial stylists. Celebrity stylists are essentially brokering deals between brands and celebrities to determine what they wear. I would say that there is not always an enormous amount of creativity in that, because sometimes you are literally just brokering deals. The best ones, and I know many that are this way, actually are able to help like define what a style is for a certain celebrity. Personal stylists are just, somebody that's helping you find the right kind of sweater to suit your needs at a Nordstrom. And then there are stylists like for editorial, which is what I wanted to be, where you are going in and you are defining the general like clothing direction and how the clothes behave in a photo shoot. You off to work?
Here, let me check the GPS and see.
Oh yeah, wait a second. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you guys something. So my brother is such a devilishly handsome man. His regional manager came through and was like, hey, that one guy seems really cool. Who is that guy? And his manager was like, that's Isaac. Everybody likes him. He's super cool. That regional manager was like, I like that kid. He's got spunk. His suit looks like shit. And the boss was like,
that kid in the shit suit was his exact words.
And the manager was like, well, I guess, yeah. Like, I mean, he's meeting all the dress code requirements. There's not a lot I can do about that. And the guy was like, buy that kid a suit. And so the manager went up to Isaac and was like, I have been assigned to buy you 2 suits. And the budget is how much?
$800.
$800, which I mean,
Woo!
I know everybody who watches this channel is going to be like, big deal. I've spent $1 bajillion on a suit. That's a big fucking deal for this man. He got 2 suits for free because he is so handsome.
I'm handsome.
You look great, kid.
Yeah, don't look at my shoes. Join the Patreon. Join the motherfucking Patreon.
All right, get out of here, kid. Hey, thank you for doing that.
Of course.
I'm just going to be really real with everybody. If your goal is to be an editorial stylist, I spent a number of years looking into that. It is almost impossible to earn a living from doing that. Most editorial stylists, even ones who work for major magazines, a lot of them are just not getting paid at all. And the thing is that the jobs are so limited. Like either you are doing one for a really small, cool brand who will absolutely expect you to do it for free, or you're doing one for a massive company with a huge budget or a bigger budget, I guess I should say. There really are no massive budgets now in fashion. But on the other side, you're doing one for a huge company that just expects that everything is so cool and fun, and this is such a great, fun way to spend your weekend that of course you're willing to do this for free, right? Like, why would we pay you? Being a stylist, super fascinating work. If you are looking for that to be a career, I would maybe look at some backup plans that you can do in the meantime while you're trying to make that happen. As always, I would love to be proven wrong on this topic. Oh my gosh, if someone gets to go just be an editorial stylist and that's all they do and they're making like $150,000 a year, I want you to have that so bad. Trust me. Prove me wrong. What are the different ways to become a reseller? I actually have a really weird answer to this question. I used to work at a sneaker store that sold some like really hype stuff and then other things that are just like much more normal. It is in the store's best interest that I don't tell you their name. You'll find out in a second. We have a massive overstock of shoes. There are way too many. We don't have a break room anymore because the whole room is just stuffed full of sneakers. We need to get rid of some of these sneakers, so we broke a rule and we put a bunch of shoes on sale that we are not supposed to put on sale. When you have accounts with major shoe companies, any shoe company, no specific one.
It rhymes with yikes.
There are rules. You can't put certain shoes on sale. You have to keep them at the retail price that you bought them at. And if you discount them, you can lose your account with that company. So we broke the rule. We put some stuff on sale because we were like, we just have to get some shoes out of the way. And then somebody looked around and was like, hey, do we need to call the guy? My manager was like, well, man, we might need to call the guy. And I was like, who's the guy? And then somebody was like, are we calling the guy? I have his number. So they call this dude who is like a 30-year-old guy who is a dropout medical student who resells sneakers for a living. According to him, he was doing really well in medical school, but then he figured out this thing about reselling merchandise, and he was like, I could make so much more money so much quicker this way. And I was like, wait, I had no idea that resellers made any amount of money. How are you doing this full time? What he told me is this. He said, I buy the most boring shoes possible for a small discount and then I sell them at their regular price. What he said is that he might resell hype sneakers if he had an opportunity to, and on top of the other stuff that he's normally doing. But he said that the real money was doing what he was doing with us that day, which is coming in and buying a bunch of a certain kind of shoe for a very discounted price. He was filling up 8 or 9 carloads with those shoes, taking them all home, listing them on Amazon, and then selling them for their normal price. Packaging everything up and shipping it. That's all he does all day long. Just package things up, ship them out. Package things up, ship them out. Print more labels, ship them out. And I was like, wouldn't you make, this was years ago. I was like, wouldn't you make more money just like getting like a plug for Yeezys and then reselling those? And he said, absolutely not. He said, if you were reselling as like a little side thing to get a little bit of extra cash for the weekend, then great. Yeah, like get a pair of Yeezys, win them in a raffle, spend all night waiting outside of a store, like whatever, do all the complicated bot stuff to get the, he was like, I don't mess with any of that stuff because it is a full-time job trying to maintain that stuff well enough to be able to then make a living off of reselling the hype. He was like, just buy a bunch of normal Adidas or a bunch of normal Nikes or a bunch of normal New Balances and then resell them for the regular price that they sell for. That was his whole thing. So, I mean, I assume that is not what you're talking about. Everybody wants to be like the cool guy who's just like, I specialize in Junior Watanabe and I'm a reseller and I make so much fucking money. But I don't think that's particularly possible. If someone else has found success with this another way, I'd love to hear about it. But that's what was told to me by a professional medical school dropout and full-time reseller. Are pearls for men trendy now? I kind of hope not. My now wife gave this to me when we were still dating because hopefully her family, she has a family member who I think maybe bought a bunch of these necklaces in bulk and then just sort of kept a stash of them and we're like, I'll give them as Christmas presents. And they gave her one of them for Christmas one year when she was like much younger. And she was like, oh, thank you. Wow, this is really beautiful. Thank you. And then like a few months later at her birthday, the same person showed up and was like, here you go. And it was an identical necklace. They had forgotten, she had not forgotten. And so when I was just hanging out at her place one time when we were dating, I was like, oh, cool, what's this? I never see you wear this. And she was like, yeah, I have like 3 of them. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I kind of don't like them. And I was like, cool, can I try it on? And she was like, yeah, actually, wait, it would look really cool on you. And now I wear it and it like never comes off. It's like my wedding ring. I like never take it off. Really, all the jewelry I have is just like, this was when we were dating, this was when we got engaged, and this was our wedding. Like, it's all like the trifecta. It's all there. She's turned me into a yellow gold guy. I don't know if pearls are trending. And also, I forgot the last part of this person's question, which is, was Pharrell the first one to do this? I don't think so, because I think that this guy was the first one to do this. And that is George Villiers, the first Duke of Buckingham. Holy shit, are there pearls in his armor? The armor is pearls. There are pearls sewn into his fucking DNA. The 17th century was not safe. This man went nuclear on every person alive. No, this guy, still like the first and the best still. Damn. Has being sophisticated in fashion and partaking in slow fashion just become another trend that people will get bored of in a few years? I do not think so. I mean, in order for that to be a trend, it would have to have a lot of people participating in it. And slow fashion would mean that you are acquiring like 2 articles of clothing per year, and they are made mostly by hand, which means that like sewing machines aren't involved. I do not think that there is anyone participating in slow fashion. I know a few people who have ordered custom pieces from Carol Christian Pole. I can't think of very many people that are doing this besides those 2 people I know. If you have any interest at all in slow fashion, you should definitely do that. That would be fucking sick. Like if you truly like got a staple wardrobe that is just like 7 pieces and all of them are like handmade and they're made to your body and they're like by designers that you really love and are passionate about, and you're like, I spent like, you know, it would inevitably have to be thousands and thousands of dollars on that very small capsule wardrobe, but you could just be like, I'm so proud of this and I wear it every single day and I take such good care of it and I will wear it for like 15 straight years. Bless you. That's awesome. You should do that. Man, if anybody does that, please let me know about your journey because I want to hear about it. This is interesting. I don't know if I will be able to answer this in a very concrete way, but I'm going to try. When doing fashion criticism/analysis, how do you determine which visual references are relevant and or intentional? So like which references did the designer mean to make? And if you suspect that they're not intentional, then how much permission do you give yourself to read into those collections with your own associations? I know this gets tossed around a lot. People use the phrase death of the author a lot, and I don't think it's maybe being used in the way that it was originally intended to be used. I wanted to clarify something real quick while showing you all something. It is not lost on me that I said, hey, this phrase is not being used the way it was originally intended, but here's how it's actually supposed to be used in order to make the point that meaning is not concrete. That is not lost on me. Also, I wanted to show you my Shinya Kazuka pants because I just got them and they are super comfortable and I love them so much. I got these secondhand. They were like 150 bucks. I'm so happy with them. Death of the Author was mostly a postmodern idea about saying that the meaning of a work of art does not come from the creator of that art. When the creator points to their painting and says, this painting is about my childhood, it is about innocence in my childhood, when other people look at it and say, I see the current state of American culture in this painting, the painting becomes, for that person, about the state of American culture. Art has this way of communicating with people whereby the meaning is something that is very liquid and it is not solid and set. When I make an interpretation of a runway show, that's not the answer to that runway show. That is me sharing with you what I have found when I studied that runway show. In the same way, a designer, and by the way, this happens all the time, a designer could say, the show is kind of about this, and then it just ends up being remembered for something totally different than that. The Rick Gethsemane men's show happened right after the January 6 riots in the United States. And Rick just said in his show notes about that show, like, obviously the riots happened too close for this show for that to become an inspiration for the show. But I do think that the negative side of aggression is something that inspires my men's work a lot. And I think this is a very relevant time for that kind of energy and negativity to be reflected on. I completely botched Richard's words there, but that was something that he said about that show. There's no way that the collection can actually be about the January 6 riots because the two things, the showing of the show and the January 6 riots happened like within a couple of days of each other. But him saying like, well, it's kind of relevant. Like, let's all think about that while we look at this show. That is completely fine because meaning is not a static thing. And as to your question about like how much allowance do you give yourself if you know that the designer didn't intend for that to be, what my wife and I are always coming back to each other on is, do I buy that? Like if she is telling me an interpretation that she had for a runway show or vice versa, the job for the person who is listening is to be able to say, am I buying what you're saying while you're saying it? Does this sound like a coherent, digestible, understandable, and reasonable understanding of this piece of art? Or is this kind of like the entire time that you're talking, I'm like, I don't know. If it feels too much like the thing, then we toss it out. If it feels like the like, wow, yeah, this, I feel like I'm understanding it better because you're saying this, keep talking, then we leave it in. That's all I can say. I love you all so much. You're the best. I really appreciate you coming here with me, hanging out. Join the Patreon. Love you, mean it. Bye.